want a garden so I can grow, and you can only go so far on your own.
Hi there, I'm Maddy Harland and I'm at the Welsh Permaculture Festival and I am with Wilf Richards, which is very exciting because we've been working on a book together for the last
3 years.
3 years. Yes, yes. And this book, which I will show you now, is called The Power of Permaculture Principles. And why did you decide to write this, first of all? What's going
Just
on, Wilf?
straight into the tricky questions.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. So, how do I summarise this? Okay, so I think key thing for me was seeing that there's various different histories out there and different focuses on the principles, whether somebody's got a real focus on the David Holmgren ones or somebody's got a real focus on the Bill Mollison ones. But then also recognising that there's actually about 40 other permaculture designers out there over various decades that have contributed to the principles in various ways. And so I wanted to kind of bring those to the surface and acknowledge all of those people as contributors to a development of the kind of core part of the philosophy of permaculture.
Okay.
So that, I think, is like the big number one reason. I think there's some other reasons as well, which is that there hasn't been a permaculture principles book written for quite a long time, since David Holmgren wrote his one, turn of the millennium. So I felt like it was time for a bit of an update, and I spent a lot of time as a diploma tutor and teacher working with people who have various different interpretations of the principles and wanting to bring some depth to them. So I kept reading articles that just give like one sentence about a principle, and I felt like, well, we've got a lot more to say about it than just a few words. So
So what I really enjoyed about this book was that there was this whole community of permaculture practitioners, and somehow, quite miraculously, you managed to synthesise this. I mean, how many contributors have you got?
It's about 40 collaborators.
Exactly, so collaborators. And what you did was you took their wisdom and their experience and their stories, but you wove it into a coherent flow, so it contains itself as a design, as the book. So
and it could have been more than 40.
Yes.
You know, so that I kind of identify there's 40 people who directly help me with the book in various ways, whether that was like just having an interview or a Zoom call or a conversation that we'd kind of record or I'd take notes around. Sometimes they would get involved quite deeply in the editing of a particular chapter, and we go backwards and forwards like playing tennis, like drafting and redrafting it a bit. And in some cases it was more at the kind of proofreading end of things and just checking I hadn't missed anything, and that maybe they'd add in some really interesting applications that I hadn't thought of, or their particular angle on it. So and then there was various people who either aren't with us anymore, like Patrick Whitefield, obviously some I just couldn't involve, and so from book related sources, that kind of desk research of bringing those people in as well. Yeah.
So let me ask you another difficult question. No pressure, Wilf. What do principles do? I mean, what are they there for? Because we hear all this stuff like permaculture ethics, 3 ethics, or 4 maybe, and then we've got this
maybe
whole,
more,
or maybe even more. Yeah, I know that's another one.
That's another one.
But what do the principles actually do? What are they about? What energy, what pattern carries them, and why are they useful?
Well, you just used the keyword pattern there, which I think is really key. I think at the end of the day, they are one of our key design tools. They really help us with our decision making. You used the word patterns there, so let's just look at that a little bit. So that was something that really came to the surface for me around writing this book, is realising that they are like a pattern language. So they are the transferable, well, one of the key transferable bits of permaculture for me and for the collaborators I worked with. So you can, talk, well, we're here in a polytunnel, it's, at Hemban, there's, tomatoes. There's very particular techniques being used here.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, oh, brilliant, it's working here, but would that particular technique or that particular process, that particular detail work in another setting? Might be a different climatic situation, different community, different soil. So it's not really necessarily transferable, but the principles are very transferable. They're kind of like a communication tool for us. So we can talk about diversity, we can talk about resilience, we can talk about functions and elements and yield. And so those things are the transferable, one of the key transferable aspects of permaculture. And then we can put our ideas, our options for design through that lens of the principles, and it can influence our decision making. So what is the most, which one ticks the most principle boxes, as it were? And I think the other core thing around the principles is that they are lessons from nature. They are they're kind of like bits of wisdom from natural systems, which includes us, includes everything around us, not just that thing out there somewhere. Yeah.
And you asked me to make a comment on the book design cover.
Yeah. Because I wasn't very involved with that. I kind of wrote the thing and gave it to you at various points in time, and then kind of left the cover to you. And then you just told me yesterday, or it was even this morning, about that. So I would love it if you shared that story.
So I had this. I really wanted to design something with this cover that spoke of the pattern language of principles. So I love the Fibonacci spiral. So I love this concept of sacred geometry and how an organic shell structure increases in a ratio. So it's like a sacred ratio. So it's always building in wholes rather than partial growth. So the way it increases is always in balance. And then, the idea of the flower is very much a display. You've got the heart of permaculture, and then you've got each petal being a principle. But I also wanted to put in something that symbolised the natural world, and so that's why there's these petals are actually the eyes on a peacock feather. Because there's a pattern language in that of seeing beyond what you might understand. So when a feather becomes an eye, and when you see into a world and suddenly you see patterns, and then you have a deeper understanding of what you're actually looking at. And I think that's what permaculture does. It unlocks the patterns of the natural world so that we can gain deeper understanding of how nature works. And the whole of permaculture is based on observation and nature, because nature's the greatest teacher.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so details about that Fibonacci golden ratio, I avoided talking about in the book in detail. It's mentioned there in the pattern chapter, but one of the things I put in there was our tendency as human beings to get a little bit obsessed with patterns. It's a kind of like the flip side of that. And so just recommending that I didn't want to get too obsessed in the book.
No, the book's really practical. But I also just want to say that I didn't design this, that this was designed by Nicola Wilmot, who designed the book, and
you gave
inside,
the brief.
she's the talent. I just have ideas. So here we are. It's going to get born into the world next year, but I'm holding it because that's the weird nature of publishing.
It's amazing
that you release it simultaneously all over the world, all in one day.
It's got to be printed at some point.
Yes.
been printed
Yeah.
already. It's great.
But yeah, I love this book. I'm really excited about it. I think it has a flow and a life to it, and I love the fact that it's so collaborative, because that for me is what permaculture, that's the power of permaculture,
Yeah.
is collaboration.
Yeah.
One person doing permaculture is
No.
good.
Yeah.
20 people,
Yeah.
20,000 people,
Yeah.
2 million people,
Yeah. Everybody. Yeah.
the whole planet.
Yeah. The whole planet.
Imagine
Yeah.
what would the planet look like if we all
Yeah.
did permaculture.
Yeah, mind blown. I obviously couldn't write it on my own. I mean, it has got my name there, but ideally it would have the other 40 collaborators'
Yeah.
names on it as well.
Yeah.
But, I took a lead in terms of, bringing it together and design, the
You
main
sure did.
writer.
You worked really hard.
But yeah, it's a kind of core, it's a very core part of the permaculture process and philosophy. There's no way I wanted to do that on my own, and I really enjoyed so much working with the other people, and learned so much in the process as well. Just like, you think like that about that, and I didn't know that about that principle, and we're having these kind of conversations around it. It was great. So my learning was key part of that book as well. So.
And I know it's always hard to nail down one thing, but was there one moment when you suddenly thought, aha, I've really learnt something new, or just numerous?
Numerous. I'd love to have one particular example.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Which one would it be? I probably could talk something about limiting factors, where we had conversations about, is this even a principle at all?
Right.
And deciding that I thought, well, we should put it in there as a chapter, and explore that. I think the idea of both edge and integration, both the chapters in there are edge optimized and integration optimized.
Yeah.
So there was something that came to the surface there for me about how we're not always integrating things, we're not always maximizing the edge, but actually there's times where we need to do the opposite, or keep, find that sweet spot, So some learnings there. Probably some others as well. John Quinney comes to mind. That was really curious. I'd never heard of him before,
Right.
But it turned out he wrote some articles about the principles back in the early 80s.
Yes.
So that was fascinating to dig deep into that and find some articles online out there. Wasn't able to connect with him. So if John happens to find himself watching this, please connect. It'd be good to have a conversation directly with you.
And just to say before we go that you run a whole project, a permaculture project, which is land-based.
Yeah.
You run a CSA as well.
Sorts. So
you're a grower.
Yeah.
Not just a writer.
Not just a writer. No. So my day-to-day work from week to week is managing a market garden and the veg box scheme for Abundant Earth, which is just 2 miles outside of Durham City. That's what I'm going back to on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week.
And you're a musician?
I'm not. No.
Well, you enjoy music.
I'm not a musician, but
Okay.
I hang out with other musicians in a band,
Okay.
and I do some screeching and growling and shouting down a microphone.
Cool.
I do play bass on a couple of tracks, but it's a massive effort for me. So.
And you have a Substack.
Oh yeah, I have a Substack. That's yeah. Actually, that might be worthwhile mentioning a little bit more about, because there was quite a large chapter that was going to be in this book, which is kind of like my desk research for all of the kind of history. It's like just reading like loads and loads of the books of like either a kind of bit around the principles or and just trying to follow the flow of their journey over decades. We decided to not include it in its entirety in the book, but extracted bits out into other chapters. But that original chapter is now on my Substack, and I've definitely got the bug for writing. This is my first book. It's definitely not going to be my last.
Hooray.
I would like to write a book about the ethics. That's on the cards.
I would love to do that.
And there are people coming forward saying, I want to help you do that already.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another collaboration
Fab.
project.
Great.
Watch
not
this
put
space.
off yet.
Yeah, I'm not put off.
Great.
And I'm just loving writing little articles as well. About
they're great.
either the permaculture I'm doing or just local cultural history, art, music.
Yeah.
There's always permaculture principles in everything I'm writing about. course.
Of course.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It's
Maddy.
been great
Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
and meet up here.
Yeah.
And head on down to his Substack and sign up to our newsletter, which I'll give you the link to in this YouTube, and keep in touch with us, because there'll be lots of material out there that can be accessed free. It's not all about buying books.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
of course.
Of course.
And teaching courses and doing a wonderful volunteer program.
Yeah.
That's very nurturing.
That's latest bit of writing.
Yep.
Yeah. So that will appear in the next magazine.
Permaculture magazine 127,
Yeah.
out at the end of October.
Right. There you go.
So it's all good.
Great.
Thanks very much, Wilf.
Thank you,
Thanks
Maddy.
very much.